They just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old, every single day, without exception. Please watch the first 2 episodes, the second series. Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Me again. Hello. Again now. Anyway, what do you want to talk about? Tell me what you want to talk about. If you've got any anger in you, get it out of you. What do you want to talk about? Leave it up to you. And the vlogs. Hello, Frank again. Did you get any? Did you get many sweet? Do you know what? We don't have kids knocking here, unfortunately. You don't have kids. It's the way it is. Unfortunately, you know where I live, and but no, unfortunately. Not long. Never get anything. Ali, our Romanian friend. Hello again. Hello, Ali. Yo, good evening and a happy Halloween, Frank and Legends. Heard you drop more F-bombs than the Saturn. Who told you that? Who told you that? I'll tell lies. Never swore once. It's just, it's like anything else, you know. It's like what's going on in the world today. And it's a shame. It's really a shame the way some people react to what's going on in the world as though they don't give a toss. You just turn a blind eye. To certain situations, and it's wrong. No matter what it is, you just turn a blind eye and just let them carry on. And it's like that, you know, America is always bullying and threatening people because they think that 2 oceans separate them from the rest of the world. Well, it's not like that. You know, it's not like that today with technology. They can be attacked by anybody. Anybody. And I'm talking about from cyber attacks to economic attacks. Now, there's Trump. What did he do? He went to see Xi Jinping, and he was threatening him with 500 tariffs. Remember, 5%, 500% tariffs. A couple of about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Oh yeah, that's now he's had to go on one knee and beg forgiveness because China have what they want. this rare earth thing, rare earth stuff, and they can't do without it. And look at Brussels, under American orders, go in and take over some Chinese firm, a big firm, and they took it over. They just threw everybody out. So China just stopped all the production and everything. They just give them nothing, and they went begging a couple of 48 hours later. They said, "Can we have some of that stuff?" They went, "Oh, fuck off." This is what it's like. It's ridiculous, especially the bullying of America. And the vlogs, MI6. As it's Halloween, be great to hear your ghost stories again. The one in St. George's Hall and the one when you was walking mile up. Freaking hell, yeah. All right. Somewhere and spoke to, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do the St. George's Hall one. And we'll see where we go from there. And Bella, Joe Franco and everybody, hope you're all well. Hiya, Bella. Lovely to see you, honestly. And I love that Italian lady, Toscana. Buonasera, Franco and chatters. I'm shocked that the world is ignoring the slaughtering of Christians in Africa. Where's Greta and the rest of them? Not a word from the Pope either. It's shocking. Don't forget, the Pope, what is he? What nationality is he? What do you think about the Reeves saying she didn't know anything about the license? She needed to rent out a house. Yes. Perfect, that, Frank. Okay. And Toscana, to the vlogs. Great idea about the ghost stories. Good evening, Halloweeners, says Zambi. God, blimey. Yes, Halloweeners. And Johan Trump essentially conceded the terror war he started with China after his meeting with Xi. Yes, he did. He did. And there's no messing. They're the main people now. And the money that's they're generating with their trade now, you know what it's going at. It's not exchanging with the dollar. It's the yuan. And what Russia, he conceded in the oil, when he said, I want China to stop having oil from Russia. And again, they just said, oh, fuck off. And he ceded that as well. And China and Russia trade in the yuan. So the dollar this is what the Americans, the globalists, are terrified of, the de-dollarization, as you know. So anyway, these ghost stories. I'll start off with the one with St. George's Hall. Between April and September, the hall was shutting down for the refurbishment. I'm freezing up here. Just see myself freezing up. And what has happened was, they said to me, they sent for me, and they said, would you give a series of lectures here about a Tuesday and a Thursday? Well, I had to say Tuesday and Thursday because I was already working. And they said, yeah, great, okay. It was to keep the oil like spinning over before all the men came in. There was a few men, especially electricians. They was coming in sorting things out, you know. So anyway, this was in the I was in the main criminal court, the main criminal court, and I was talking about, just like giving the history. And someone said, "Can you give us a genuineness? Can you give us a murder trial scene that was sitting in here?" I said, "Yeah." So anyway, he gave a murder trial, and it was an innocent fellow. It was an innocent fellow, and he got hanged, found guilty, and got hanged. But he was innocent because they found out later that he was innocent. He was nowhere near the crime. And the next was, which was rather sad actually, after he was found, they exonerated him from the murder. He was actually buried in the grounds, but they couldn't get at him, to take him up and reinter him in a public cemetery. Anyway, he's still there today, unfortunately, because they actually built on the plot where he is, within the compound of the prison. So here's me talking about this. Now, normally what I did, I used to bring people that were there down to holding cell and to cells that were down into the holding cell. I think my internet needs a boost. Needs a boost because I keep going off there. But anyway, excuse me. So I'm talking away. And I said, right, what I want to do, I said, I'm going to bring you into the holding cell where prisoners, if they were found guilty, especially of murder, were put into at this particular holding cell. So, I was sitting there, I said, I have to go down and make sure that everything's okay. So I said, give me a moment. So I went down into the holding cell. See, where I was standing looking at the audience. They were in the public gallery where people sat, during trials. And I was standing where the prisoner would usually be sitting in the dock. So I'm looking up at them. So I said, I'm going to go down to make sure, health and safety. So I went down. Now, every other time I've gone down, say I've been talking about architecture or the Irish or anybody else, I've been talking not about trials. So anyway, I goes down. Now, when you get to the bottom of the stairs, there's this door, and it's a very flimsy door. You could get it and just break it anyway. It's a very flimsy door. Just put there it was to stop whatever. It wasn't like a big bar thing, but they just put it there. It's just a flimsy door. I don't know what it was for, to be honest, why they put it there. But anyway, nevertheless, it was there. So it goes down, and I goes to open it, and it only has a piece of string on it. It never has a doorknob or anything. It was just a piece of string. That's why it was just a temporary door, a little flimsy thing. So I pulled the string, and it was jammed. Like the door. I thought it was jammed because I looked down to see if there was a wedge there. Nothing. Nothing. So anyway, I'm pulling it. And it opens about that wide, So I put my head in. Nothing there. So, so again, I looked on the floor to see if there was a wedge. So I was opening the door again, and hold of it. I was looking down that little slit, and there was nothing there. I thought it might have been wedged there as well. Absolutely nothing there. Nothing. So I went, what the fuck? Anyway, I let it go, and I stood there for only a few seconds, using a strategy like slot, using a strategy that never worked. So I grabbed hold of this, string again. It was a strong string, it was. And I grabbed hold of it and I pulled it. And here's what happened. On the other side, it was as though someone was pulling on the other side, because it was like that. And say I was pulling it, and on the other side, it was pulling back. So I'm going forwards and I'm pulling it. So I thought someone's fucking behind there, acting the goat. So I looked again, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I looked. And then I looked behind me, nothing. Looked to the side of me, nothing. Well, there's nothing there because there's just a wall. So I looked there, nothing. Looked behind, nothing. So I grabbed hold of the thing again, pulled it, pulled back, and I went, this. I tried to open it again for the last time, and I just let it go, and I just fucking slammed. Now, as I said, this is just a flimsy door, and it just slammed. That someone on the other side was pulling. So I shot up the steps, from the holding cell up to the dock side of the court where I was standing. And I said, listen, and I tried to explain. And there was a young fella in the audience, a little Jack the lad. And he went, sir, I'll have a go, I'll go. I said, no. I said, but he was past me. I just went right down. And I said, I'm sorry about that. He should never have gone down there. It's health and safety. I could get in trouble. And as I'm saying that, he fucking shoots up. And he runs past me and runs out. And I said to one of the lads, obviously they still had workers there looking after the hall. I said, have you seen a lad running past there? He said, yeah, he's shot out. He just shot out, ran down the corridor. That's why he came here, to see if everything was all right. I said, yeah. So what was that? What was pulling on the other side of the door? What did that young lad see who ran out? He wasn't screaming or not. He just flew up the steps and shot right past me and out. And as that worker said, one of the lads named Neil, he said he just shot out. He just ran off. So that was that one. So there was definitely something there. Strangely enough, how about this? And I did this along with the late Jake Abraham, the actor. And I found these the other day, strangely enough. I always find things when I'm looking for something. And it's that, if you can see it. "2013 did that. Loads of people, loads showed up for them. Loads of them. Anyway, I had to show them certain places in there where little occurrences happened. I can't really tell you, on here. It wouldn't be the same effect. So I was bringing them around, where certain occurrences happened around the hall. And it was in the night. And it was really good. It was really good. There was two lads, not half funny. These two gay lads, and all as your ears out of them when I was up, ooh, ooh, it's not half funny. Anyway, the next time was, excuse me, when I was in France. And I always itched, because I enjoyed it, young and vibrant and full of energy and whatever. And I always itched everywhere. I went to France. And when I was going through, I got a lift, you wouldn't believe, from the East Lancs. There was a little cafe there, wasn't there, for truckers. And I went there, standing there, and these fellas were coming out. And the next he said, anyone going down to Dover? This fella said, yeah, I am. And even on the ferry and everything, right over to France. And he dropped me off. And he said, I needed a trunk load to get to where I was going. So anyway, he said, just go down there, he said, and you come to the trunk road. I said, thank you. So I was going down. And I had a previous experience the year before, but I don't want to get into that. In Devon in the night, and it was shocking. Horrible, frightening. So I'm walking down and I'm, looking at me watch, and I'm going, I said, if it goes dark, because France is very flat. And all you have is hedgerows everywhere, especially in the countryside. And I was walking down. And I was walking for about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, must have been 4 hours. And I started to get worried about the light, getting dark. And I thought, fuck, I don't want to be stuck here. There was nothing around. There was absolutely no cars, none past me. None past me whatsoever, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the countryside. So when I was walking down, I thought, please God, help me, And then, the way you feel something. And I was walking around, the road started to bend around. So I started to walk around, and the next, there was this fellow walking up, I'm praying, please God, help me. I don't want to be stuck here. Because I'll tell you for why as well. At the time I was there was lots of robberies on a train by foreigners. And outside, not just on trains, people getting held up by knife point and even gunpoint. And even in the countryside. And this is what was worrying me at the time. especially being on your own, you know. And so, oh, fuck, help me. So as I said, I was walking around this way, you know, around this bend, and this fella came walking towards me. Just came to walking towards me, and he was very distinctive. This fella, old fella, he was an older gentleman. He had this hat on, trilby type, and he was dressed very smart. You know, he was, as I remember, he had a very light coat on, very light trousers, brown shoes. But what was the state? He had this cravat on as well, open neck year cravat. And what was distinct about him? What was distinct about him, or very distinctive, to be honest, was his cane, his walking stick. It's a walking stick, and it was brown, light brown. But on the handle of it, on the handle of the stick, you know, there, if you know what I mean, you've got hold of the stick there, and on there were antlers, you know, deer antlers, and they were all silver, shiny silver. And it was incredible. And I went, now I don't speak French. And I went, thank God for that, you know, to myself as he was walking towards me. And I said, bonjour, bonjour, monsieur, parlez-vous anglais? And he said, yes, perfect. I'm like, oh, great, you know. So I just said, listen, I said, I had the name, it was a trunk load, and I had the name of it and the number of it. And he said, yes. He said, but you're quite a bit away. He said, if you just walk down here, and I thought he was just going to tell me where, you know, how far to go. And he said, if you just walk around here, he said, just look up and you'll just see an opening. He said, walk to that opening, look down, you see my house. He said, and you will be helped. And I said, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So I walked away, and when I turned, he'd gone. So I thought he just walks, you know, straight down the bend. Now, here's what I do. You know, I'd shake hands with everyone, mate. And I was going to say, you know, shake his hands and say thank you very much, but he'd gone. So anyway, I walked around and I just kept looking up, and there's this opening. So I went up a little incline into the opening, looked down, and there's this house. It wasn't a big, like, mansion or anything. It wasn't. It was like it was a farmhouse. Very long, beautiful though, very long. So I walked down, and they've got the, you know, lovely doors, double doors, beautiful. They were very old, and they had this pulley for it, for the bell. So I rang it, and I went ding. So I'm standing there, and there was no answer. I went, fuck, I don't know, no one's in. But there was a car, French car, you know, that was parked just a bit further away. Not far, but just a bit further away, about 10 yards away. I went, oh, no one's in. So I pulled it again. Ding. Why do I do that? Ding. But anyway, it rang. Standing there, I went, you know, a few minutes more. I went, no one's in. So I started to walk away, back to that opening. But there was another opening there, like, you know, gates. But it seemed so further away. So I decided to, like, go up into this little opening where it came out, because I knew where it was. Back on that road, sort of thing. So as I was walking away, the door opened. And I turned and I said again, Polly with one glaze. And she said, yes, yes. And it was a woman in her 30s. I was younger. And she said, can I help you? I said, yeah. I said, I need this trunk road and blah, blah, whatever I was saying. And, gave the number of the trunk road as well. And it was strange because she said, how did you find here? I said, I was told. I said, a gentleman. I said, I met on the road. I said, told me that, to come in here and I'd be helped. It's his home, he said. And she looked at me and she said, one moment, and closed the door. So I'm still standing outside. And the door opened again. And she said, kindly step in. So I just stepped inside, and then we went right inside the home or whatever. And anyway, I stepped inside. And she had a photograph in a frame. But she didn't show me it because it was the back of it. And she said, can you describe the gentleman who told you that it was his home? And you'd be helped. And I said, yes. So I described the dress, everything. And his face, to the best of my ability, describing his face. Like a ruddy complexion, smooth skin, ruddy complexion. And then she pulled this photograph out in the frame. She said, is he there? And it was a family photograph where you see people standing. And the two people who must have been the parents and grandparents, by the way, because there was a few kids there. And they were sitting in the middle, just sitting on these chairs. They were all standing behind and at the side, came around like this. And I said, yeah, that's him there, pointed. And she showed her mother. Mother came out, called her. And she said, point out what you've just pointed out. This is to her mother. I said, this gentleman told me, to come here. I'd be helped. And the mother was shocked. The daughter was not shocked as such, but she was taken back a little. And I'm standing there. Now, here's another thing. I looked like that because what was catching my eye was this coat and umbrella stand in the hallway to my left. And I looked like that. And I said, that's his walking stick. I said, because that's the very same walking stick he had. But I didn't think about that walking stick at the time. I did think about it a few years later. I'll tell you for why. So anyway, they looked. Because the photograph showed, and he's like this, the gentleman. And the lady who's sitting next to him, obviously it was his wife. And as he's sitting there, resting his head, was he resting his head? Am I getting mixed up with that? No, he wasn't resting his head on it. He was holding it, like this. Because what I was thinking of, I gave a talk at St. George's Hall. And there was an old gentleman, and he was in the front, and he was resting on his his walking stick. So anyway, he was just standing there and he had hold of it like this, smiling, whatever. And the lady said, she said, my father has been dead for 10 years. And at this time in the afternoon, he always went for a stroll. Been dead 10 years. The fella who was in the photograph and whose cane was in the rack, the umbrella rack. Now, why I said it didn't hit me until a few years later, and thinking about that, was at the time later, and I thought, I just he'd just been with me. He's just told me where to go, and yes, I never thought about the walking stick in the rack until I seen it out the corner of my eye. See what I mean? So this fella had been dead for 10 years, which was absolutely amazing. I wasn't frightened at any. I didn't know that he was dead anyway. He didn't look grotesque or anything. He looked a fine gentleman. And that's my experiences with. I tell you one experience where it's hard to explain about St. George's Hall. And when I brought them down, I brought them into the bowels of St. George's Hall, where there's massive arches. These are the foundations, massive arches. And people were looking over my shoulder. It'd be better if you were there. And I was showing you. I'm talking to the people there. And they kept looking over my shoulder. I never looked at anything. And, never turned around or whatever. And I kept talking and talking about, because in St. George's Hall, what you have in St. George's Hall is the very first air conditioning system in the world. That was put in. It was put in by a Scottishman, actually. He invented it. Forget his name now. And he put it in. And it was the first of its kind in the world. So I'm explaining about, because you'll actually see it and how they worked it. And it was very hard work, It's not like switching a switch on like you do today. So anyway, I was explaining. These people kept looking over my left shoulder. If they were standing looking over my shoulder, and another people, they were just looking. They weren't looking at me every other few minutes, and they kept looking over. So that's when I turned around. And I said, what are you looking at? She said, there was two workmen there. I said, two workmen where? And, they said they were there. So when we came up into the hall itself, I was talking to one of the lads. I said, is the fellas working down there? He said, no. They just appear now and again. And your group's seen them. But you had to be there because you could see how eerie it was. And that's my stories of the experiences, actually. Told you. Back on again. What you've been saying. Yeah. You know the end. Hang on. You know. I don't know where my glasses are. Oh, there they are. Here. I hate wearing these reading glasses. You know, I really do. They hurt me. You know, the rest of us will be prosecuted. Therefore, should Reeves also, how has Rayner got away with using money from her disabled sons? I don't want to go down there with these prats. Ali says, China is high, very high. I saw the video with their Minister of Defence about their weapon called the 61. Crazy. Is an atomic rocket. It can carry 60 atomic bombs and one hydrogen bomb. Unstoppable. And Bella to Toscana, you know why? Because they are all corrupt. Toscana, everyone's corrupt. Steve Holland, he says, this week 7 countries voted for the blockade on Cuba. I will give you a guess who 3 of them countries were. It's shocking because they want to attack Venezuela, Colombia, and this is the peace, the POTUS peace man, President of the United States peace man, Donald Trump. Wanting to attack all, they're killing people now, you know, in boats, fishermen or whatever. That's who they kill. And it's wrong. If they had drugs on them boats, they would pull them. They would pull them and stop them in the tracks. But they don't. They just blow them up so that Americans will go, there's drugs not coming in, and we just kill them. Trump mentioned that about Gaza as well. And it's shocking. You know, a president of the United States coming out and saying, we'll kill every one of them. We'll just kill them. The vlogs. I'd love to do a stay over ghost hunt there one night. I know someone called Keith Braithwaite does them around the cathedral, or used to. To Steve Mulholland. Bet Israel and Ukraine alongside Uncle Sam. Correct, Johan. You had Putin came out, didn't he, the other day? Was it yesterday, day before? He said, I want to invite, because Zelensky's coming out with a loads of lies because he wants loads of money and he wants loads of arms. Where's the billions of arms that's gone to Ukraine? Where is it? I know Russia has destroyed loads of them. So where's the others? You know, do they go on the black market? Of course they do. And yet he's still asking for more. I want more money. I want demanding. Doesn't ask for it. He demands it. You've got to ask yourself, who the fuck are Ukraine? Who are these people? I know what's there. I know what's there, what you call Banderites, and the Banderites are all Nazis. the Azovs. That's what's there in that country. And that's one of the reasons. That's on the agenda of Russia, wanting to denazify Ukraine, get rid of them, and he will. I know he will. But you're getting the EU say, they're just telling lies that the winner, Ukraine's win. But Putin, there's a big place called Petrovsk, and he said that they're surrounded. But Zelensky say, no, we're not surrounded. We're not there. We're not that. We're fighting them back. We're on the up. We're getting them. And it's a load of bollocks. It's a load of nonsense. So Putin said, I'll invite all Western, the media, he said, I'll stop. Cease fire for 48 hours to allow these journalists in to see what's going on. And they've just got them surrounded the city, and they're saying to the soldiers, give up, just surrender. But they're getting things back, communications back to the Ukraine. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. And they're not, but anyway, loads of have surrendered, loads of scarpers anyway. And Ukraine press, well, officials, not the press, came out and said, do not go there to the Ukraine journalists. So why was they stopping the Ukraine journalist? Because there's Zelensky and his Azovs saying, we've got them on the run. We've got the Russians on the run. So why wouldn't they allow the journalists to go to prove that Ukraine have got them on the run? And Putin's telling lies and Zelensky's telling the truth. Loads of nonsense. He said you could legally you could go to jail, or you will go to jail if any journalists went there. Ukrainian journalists, that is. Everything's based on fucking lies with these people. And as Johan says, to stay the usual suspects. Yes. Achi. Steve Mullins can't be England. Our government supports communists. Hello, Frank. Me mum was a Scouser. Half a Scouser. Half a Scouser. Zarachi. One day you will have to try Google Maps and find that farmhouse. Yeah. That's a great idea, that is a great idea, blokes. Find some fucking where it was, to be honest. Johan says we still haven't understood the passage of time. One day we might grasp it, but there are too many instances of spirits, ghosts, souls breaking the time barrier to ignore. Some comment there. I remember seeing this little tiny hatch on a wall at St. George's Hall, and inside it was a gap with a pipe on the that's Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's surprising you. I'd love to bring you around and show you things. I really would. I'd love to show you things in St. George's Hall. And even how light was emitting in the hall. Light. You're talking 1854, you know. But you're talking in dark places where light shone without any lights there, if you know what I mean. It was brilliant the way they did it. Harvey Lonsdale Elms. And unfortunately, he didn't live to see its completion. But the lad was a genius. But then again, his mentor took over, Professor Sir Charles Cockerell, after Elms died, unfortunately, at the age of 33, 7 years before its completion. Genius of a place. And the vlogs, it was a old letter, I think it was for coal or something, dated somewhere around 1930. I think it was to get in my mum's safe. I'll dig it out. To get in my mum's safe. And Toscana can't be that bad in Ukraine. My uncle had just spent a month there with his partner visiting relatives. Easy enough getting a flight from Italy. Of course it is. You can fucking get a flight anywhere. But try to fly to Russia. Can't get there. Got to go around the world. See, the likes of to be honest, Toscana, what you've got these oblasts that the Russians control. Nowhere near where your dad was, your uncle was flying to. Nowhere near. And when the Russians bomb and, shell, they only shell the likes of military targets. They don't bomb civilians. And the vlog says, you missed that bit, Frank. In the hatch, I found a very old letter stuffed right down into the wall and pipe dated 1938. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, there's lots of things. There's lots of like little things like that. Peculiar things that you don't expect in the hall. Bella. As of late 2024, early 25, international partners, mainly Western governments and the EU, have committed over 380 billion, approximately 400 billion in total military to Ukraine since 2020. Of course they have. And that's just that. That's just money. You've got Zelensky and his cronies who are multi-billionaires. That's what you've got. Multi-billionaires. Ow. And I always remember under the Biden administration, there's a Senator, Rand Paul. He's great. He's a Republican, a smashing fella. I like him, to be honest. And he said, going back, I think it was 2023, he said, can we have an auditor sent out to Ukraine where this, USA taxpayers' money's going? There's no auditor for that money. You know why? It's being laundered. It's being laundered. This is why Zelensky wants money. It gets laundered. Sheer corruption. And the vlogs, I think it's like when people leaving things in little hidden areas, in homes, when they leave for sometimes to find hundreds of years later. Love that. Watch Knowing, film called Knowing, and a little time capsule. A little time capsule in the film called Knowing. Salute. Excuse me. And Johan says they want another 400 billion in the next 4 years. Of course they do. He won't be there. He'll be gone. He'll be gone one way or the other. Because what you have is now Trump is pulling out troops in certain bases around Europe. And the EU are not liking that. I don't. It really pisses me off, I'm being honest, the way America, just goes in and decides to, invade countries. As I said, they want to do Venezuela. They want to do Colombia because you've got these warmongering neocons, globalists who are being paid by everybody. And you've got the likes of, with these places, do you know, they want to overthrow Maduro. And I've mentioned Machado, whatever the fucking name is, who won the Nobel Peace Prize, that she was groomed by the CIA and Mossad. Because the likes of Israel, you look at who runs the likes of Milei, Argentina. What is he? He's one of the most corrupt leaders in Latin America. And I think it was a big sham he got in the other day because people just don't like him. But the way America put it over, we'll give you 40 billion for your infrastructure and everything. He's a big, corrupt politician. He takes money. He launders money for himself. And yes, he won the election. You've got the likes of the EU going after their Slovakia simply because they don't want, they've just gone against this LGBTQ and the rainbow. He said, no, not having it here. Oh, and one sex. He said, there's only two sexes, male, female. This is FISO. Male and female. But the EU's it like that, so they're trying to get him. Obviously, colour revolution, that's the excuse. Get rid of him because he doesn't support Ukraine. same as Oban, get rid of him because he doesn't support Ukraine. The Czech Republic now, they've just got a new leader in after last week's elections, and he came in and he doesn't support Ukraine, so they'll try and get him out. They're in Georgia now, and they want to call a revolution there. You see what America are like, and Europe is following suit. You've got a WEF, Guild, Minister of Germany, politician. She was the defense minister, and she destroyed everything. They got rid of her. They said that she's the worst defense minister in history. So she's failed, yet she leads Europe. And who put her there? Who elected her there? We didn't. The ordinary people. Excuse me. Oh, I'll have to finish soon. I'm absolutely knackered. I was waiting for the phone call off the doctor. Couldn't go to sleep. Couldn't have a sleep. I never had the phone call. Then I got it. Finally got it about half an hour before I came on. 6:30. So, and I've been up since very early. I'm very tired. I mean, tired. So that's why I said to you, what do you want to talk about tonight? Anything. But we go off on tangents. So listen, people, I'm going to finish now. I'm absolutely shattered. I'm sorry, I've only been on an hour, but I'm really tired. And I'll finish off with that Machado. Who do you want to place in Venezuela? And as I said, she was groomed by the CIA and Mossad. And she supports Israel. That's why. The likes of Mali of Argentina supports Israel. And anyone who supports Israel, the Americans will go after. That's why Colombia's president said, it's disgusting what's happening in Gaza. So they're going after them for regime change. Think about it. Just think about it. And on that note, I'm tired. I really am tired. And if you want, I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, 10:30, film and TV review. Film and TV review. And tomorrow night, what have we got tomorrow night? A very important game. Very important. And when you think about it, Slot said, nice and shiny head, could be on the chopping. And Johan. Thank you, Franco. 2 shows in a day is remarkable. Good luck for the. Take care. Get some rest. Thank you, Johan. Ali Danus. Get some sleep, Frank. Good night. Thank you, Ali Danus. And I've just got to say thank you, everyone, for joining me, keeping me company. I'm sorry I'm tired. I really am. And I would have had some sleep if I had to wait for this doctor to phone me, which is very important. And I got good news actually, so I'm made up with the news as well. Yes. So I'll let you know about it. Not now. Too tired. And I've got to take these fucking things off. It's terrible. Get into me. That better. These are lighter on my nose, you see. Distant glasses. These other things. Blimey. And you know, you don't pay for you don't pay buttons now for glasses. Terrible prices. You know, because they've got a name on. But I like them. You know, the shape and everything else about them. But you do pay through the bloody nose. And on that wonderful note, please see some of you tomorrow. Thank you, people. Thank you so much. Sorry I'm tired. Apologies. Good night. Good night, all.